Hi, my name is Chris Hewitt and I'm the President of the Nepean Archaeology and Historical Group. We've been here for about 20 years and we've just recently celebrated an anniversary. What we do is we collect and keep and restore artefacts from different sites, particularly along the river through the PLDC. And this is representative of the early land grants here by Governor King in 1803. A lot of names that are still here, the John Lease Grant, the Marshall Grant, the Kennedy Grant, and down here the Collets, who a lot of people will know from Collets Inn at Mount Victoria. In these filing cabinets, we have records of all the families that were original land grant holders along the Nepean. People like Chapmans and Cheshires. We hold this information for ourselves, but also for their descendants who might like to come in and be researching their family history. So we've got land title deeds here that shows where the property's gone since their ancestor owned it, right down to the present day. This is one of our publications on the early pioneers. You can see that it has part of the map there, and this contains a lot of information on the families that lived along there. John Jones, chapters on Edward Lord. So a lot of these people, you know, when they come in, they will often buy a copy of this because it just shows the people that were living in those areas at the time and a bit of their background history. Often when you go to an archaeological site, what you really hope to find is a rubbish dump. And the rubbish dump will have all that sort of thing in it. Pottery shards that you may or may not be able to put back together again. So you get an idea of how people lived. And you might think that they lived fairly poorly, you know, on farms and that. But as you can see, they had some really nice crockery. And so they lived, I think, reasonably well. Most of them in this areas were either farmers, fruit and wheat, grain, but also a lot of dairy farms, This is the wash basin jug that there's a picture of on the banner. This was recovered from McCarthy's farm, and as you can see, it's got quite a few cracks, but it's been put back together and plastered in to make the full shape again. This is quite an old brand of pottery, quite an old brand. It's not anything fabulous like Dalton or anything like that, but it's quite an old brand of pottery. These are torpedo bottles. They're shaped like that for putting into sand, like the old Greek amphora. They're made to sit in sand. But there's a lot of ginger beer bottles, ordinary Codswallop bottles, quite a lot of early glassware. And you can tell early glassware because it's more full of bubbles. When you hold it up to the light, it's got a lot of bubbles in it. That's the earlier type of glassware and bottles. And some of them have marks on them like this. This one has an emu on the front of it there. Different brands giving their marks on it. That's a Coombs bottle. Very heavy, quite thick and heavy. This is like a little example of things we found of children's memories. Little tiny teapots, little teapot cup, little cups from a tea set, little tiny child's egg cup, and some religious memorabilia. There's rosary beads in there. Okay, this is just a sample of some of the bricks that we have. As you can see, there's a vast collection here behind me. This is one of the more convict bricks with the arrow in it. This is a handmade brick from a farm where the child has put its footprint into the brick. And that's the one we use on our letterhead, that one. This is a very much older but heavier, like a calcite brick. This one has finger marks in it where it's just been gouged in while it's being moved. It has a fairly deep frog and it has the maker's mark in there. And this is one from Interstate, Tasmania, Stanley. But it's of a fairly different type of fabric in the clay and itself. You can see, here's a broken one, the early colonial bricks, how they had a lot more things in them, pebbles and all sorts of objects in the soil that were just all pushed into the brick mould, whereas a modern brick today is really a compressed powder. So all these on the top row have very much come from the local area. Now, Amanda has a big book with all these recorded in them. That's why they've got numbers on them and where they came from and how they came to us. We think archaeology is important because archaeology puts flesh on the bones of history.